All right, let's jump right in. We're going to start with a really simple pattern of light, something you've probably seen 1,000 times and never thought twice about. But what if that simple pattern wasn't just a random trick of the light? What if it was actually a blueprint for a fundamental law of reality, a law described with incredible precision in the Qur'an? Let's take a closer look.
Yeah, you know exactly the one I'm talking about. You pour your morning coffee or a glass of water, and the light gathers at the bottom into this super bright, sharp, curved line. It seems so simple, right? Almost boring. But that familiar shape is actually a precise mathematical event. It has a name, and believe me, it holds a pretty big secret.
So that bright line, it's called a caustic. And the key words here are focus and pile up. It's a point of convergence. It's a place where all these scattered individual paths of light are forced together, herded into one single brilliant form.
And look, this isn't a fluke. It's not random at all. It's an absolutely unavoidable law of physics. Anytime you have a free field, like rays of sunlight, and it hits a curved boundary, like the inside of that cup, this caustic curve has to form. There's no choice. It's a pure mechanism, a law with zero feelings or agenda. So you've got this simple recipe, right? Spread, hits a boundary, which forces a focused return. That's the law.
Okay, so here's where it all clicks together and gets fascinating. The whole argument we're exploring here is that this exact three-step process, spread, boundary, forced return, is laid out precisely in the Quran, and not as some nice poetry or metaphor. No, the argument is that it's describing a core mechanism of how the universe actually operates. So let's break this down. We're going to take that image, that caustic, and map its different parts to three specific terms from the Quran. Now, think of them less as just names and more like operators, the functions that make reality run. First up, you have Raḥmān. Picture this as just an unrestricted, generous, all-encompassing spread. Kind of like sunlight just pouring down, covering everything equally. No focus, no direction. In our diagram, that's the parallel rays at the top. It's pure, unbounded potential, the raw material of existence, you could say. Okay, so that free-flowing field of Raḥmān eventually hits something, and that something is Razīm. Razīm is the boundary, the constraint. In our cup, it's literally the curved wall. And it's really important to get this. This isn't some evil or bad force. It's the thing that creates structure, that gives shape. It's what bends the path and forces a choice, a change in direction. And what happens when Raḥmān hits Razīm? Well, the result is absolutely inevitable. It's Raḥīm. Now, this is totally different from the gentle, spread-out nature of Raḥmān. Raḥīm is focus. It's intense. It's a non-optional return. It is that bright, sharp point at the bottom of the cup. It's where all those scattered rays are forced to come back together, creating a massive spike in intensity. It's a kind of mercy, but it's mercy through an unavoidable, forced return. Okay, let's just lay it all out. This table really nails it. You've got Raḥmān, the free field, which are the parallel rays. You've got Razīm, the boundary or the cut, which is the circle. And you get Raḥīm, the focused return, which is that bright cusp. It's a perfect one-to-one mapping, a complete circuit, described identically by physics and, according to this analysis, by the Quran. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Okay, that's a really beautiful metaphor, and it is. But the argument here is so much bigger than that. It's saying this isn't a metaphor at all. It's a functional mechanism that shows up everywhere, at every single scale of reality. It's a fair question, right? I mean, how on earth do you get from a simple pattern of light in a coffee cup to something as incredibly complex and dynamic as a bird in flight? Well, the answer, according to this analysis, is that the exact same engine is running the whole show. Just look at this breakdown. It's pretty amazing. The atmosphere, the air all around us, that's your free field, your Raḥmān. The bird's wing, as it cuts through the air, that's the moving boundary, that's Razīm. And the result, lift. And where does that lift come from? It's generated by a focused vortex of air, a tiny, intense whirlwind, a point of aerodynamic focus. And what is that? That's Raḥīm, the forced return that literally makes the bird fly. See? It's the same three-part engine. Okay, so we've gone from light in a cup to a bird in the sky. Now the argument scales up again to maybe its most profound level, the journey of the human soul itself, as traced through the prophetic stories. The claim is that this very same mechanism governs our trials, our moments of preservation, and our ultimate return. And this isn't just one person's journey, it's a circuit that plays out across generations. So first, you have the prophet Ibrahim. He sets the boundary, the Razīm, by creating a focal point for the future, a return stone. Much later, you have Asya. Inside the oppressive boundary of Pharaoh's palace, she preserves the faith, acting like a vessel, holding that potential in the darkness. And then comes Musa. He's the one who activates the Raḥīm. He strikes that very stone, forcing the release of water, a non-optional, miraculous return to life and truth. The circuit is complete. So, if this is the loop we're all in, this cycle of hitting boundaries and being forced to return, how do you resolve it? The answer given is submission. And we need to be clear here, this doesn't mean just giving up. It means consciously aligning yourself with this law of the universe. It's about stopping the fight against the inevitable and learning to move with the current, not against it. And this really brings us to the core argument of this whole analysis. The idea is that the Qur'an isn't just a collection of stories or religious laws. It's something much more. It's being presented as a user's manual, a decoder for the operating system of reality itself. So, you see, it's not about the individual events themselves, it's about the operators that make them happen. You have Raḥmān, the source field, Razīm, the constraint, and Raḥīm, the inevitable focus. The claim is that this simple three-part grammar dictates how everything works: light, water, societies, even our own consciousness. Okay, now I want you to just pause for a second. Think about that image of the light in the cup, that whole diagram we've been using, and then consider this statement. This image is not illustrating the Qur'an. No, the Qur'an is explaining this image. And that right there, that's the huge perspective shift. It completely flips the whole thing on its head. The idea isn't that we're using a cool science diagram to understand a religious text. It's that the text was written to explain the fundamental science of the diagram and of everything else it represents. So let's boil it all down to its absolute core. The universe's grammar in just 3 steps. First, spread without limit, that's Raḥmān. Then, a cut with measure, that's Razīm. And finally, a return with mercy, that's Raḥīm. That's it. That's the engine, the circuit, the law. And the final thought to leave you with is maybe the most powerful one of all. This whole pattern, this cosmic, physical, and spiritual law, it isn't just something happening out there in a physics lab or deep in space. It is the exact curve that every single one of us is traveling right now.